Welcome back to the channel. A lot to unpack, a lot to talk about this week, especially around home prices. Talk about the Liberals, the housing minister, Gregor Robertson, talking about home prices wanting to be pretty flat. Does not want to see home prices potentially fall.
Do you think home prices need to go down?
No, I think that we need to deliver more supply, make sure the market is stable. It's a huge part of our economy, but we need to be delivering more affordable housing.
Talking a little bit more about affordability, what I think this means, what many Canadians, especially those first-time home buyers, those looking to the Liberals for a plan on what to do next or how to get affordable housing, and ultimately the other side of the equation, those looking to retire, because there's a lot of contention here. I think there's a lot of conversations happening right now. We're talking with a lot of our first-time home buyers who've already put their decisions to potentially buy a home on hold. Talking to a lot of them, the consensus is that they're waiting to see what the Bank of Canada does coming in early June. So a lot of that is tied to where the Bank of Canada could be headed. Obviously, a lot of it to do with economic conditions and uncertainty here in Canada. But I think for the most part, those that are ready to buy a home, they've weighed out the numbers, and we're not dealing with a FOMO situation here in Canada. I mean, at least not the clients that I'm talking to, where we saw in the past where people were just getting in ahead because home prices were just going parabolic. Now it's like, they've done their math, they've done their homework, they've looked at their limits, and like the OG, know your limits, play within them. A lot of our clients, a lot of our buyers, they're playing within those limits. They're pulling back. They're being very conscientious. Those that are moving up, those buyers that are looking to move up to the next home might be pushing or stretching that budget. But there's a lot of inventory, especially in the GTA, in the condo market. 7 months of inventory sitting there. So this week, I want to take an opportunity to share thoughts, because I think it's super important to really look at both sides of the conversation, especially now that you have the housing minister, Mr. Robertson, coming out, the ex-mayor from Vancouver, saying, hey, no, when asked, do you want home prices to fall? Basically coming out saying, no, they're looking at affordable measures. Now, we've talked about this on the channel probably at great length. Most people talk about affordable homes, affordable housing, but nobody wants their home to be affordable to some degree, right? Especially if you're a homeowner. And, this is really, really important, because you have these two things pulling at each other, right? So you have a first-time home buyer who buys a home. They want their home to increase in value, not because of it being an investment, but because maybe they want that home to appreciate so that they can move into the next home. Maybe they're playing the property ladder game, right? Nobody wants to buy a house and watch it depreciate, right? Nobody wants to buy something and lose money on it, right? Especially if you bought a home in the last little while, and you might be already seeing that you purchased a home for X and it's come out to be a little bit lower, like we talked about refinancing last week. But I think it's super important to understand that young people that are looking to start their life, they may not want to necessarily treat that home as an investment, but as a mechanism to start a family, to grow a family, sort of understand what they're going to be doing with that home. And a lot of them may not want to rent, and that is a major, conversation, one for another video. But for those who want to purchase a home, they're looking to the Liberals right now, who just got voted in for their fourth term, saying, hey, you said you were going to deliver on affordable housing, but now you're telling me, no, you don't want home prices to fall. Well, ultimately, here's the couple things there. Number one is new homes that come to the market have an impact on potentially resale homes. Right now, resale homes drive the market, right? We're seeing that sort of happen, for example, in the condo space, right? If you have an existing unit for sale, it's priced against other units, and that's obviously impacting the price of new homes or new condos, especially for those that may have purchased a condo at a higher price point, and the comparable condo is selling for a lot less per square foot. A lot of that has to do with the market. The other thing too is if, we don't see a lot of movement in the resale space, well, does that give the confidence to builders to build more homes, even though we're facing a housing crisis, especially in single family homes that many Canadians want and need and want to purchase, right? We're not talking about homes that are being rented, but maybe like a REIT is going to own that, which is like a real estate investment corporation, like these big players. They buy them and all they do is rent them out, and they're not being able to own by single investors, right? So that is the other thing that's coming to the market right now. Now, all of that saying, hey, that's really good. We do need more of those types of homes, but we also need the proper type of home, right? Nobody that I know that, with renting or looking to rent, unless they're in Manhattan or like these major metropolises, wanted like 300-400 square feet. They need a little bit more space. And if you want and live in Toronto and you don't want to have a car and you want to have these whatever 15-minute cities that they talk about. Well, you need to have more space, right? You need to have at least 1 to 2 bedrooms. You need a little bit more functionality, a lot more infrastructure. And with the population is being pulled back. There's a stall. But then again, you have someone like Mark Carney, who is a populationist. They want to get Canada to 100 million people, maybe in, the next, 60, 70, 100 years, right? But at the end of the day, we need to build the infrastructure. We need to get there reasonably and responsibly by making sure we don't cram all these people into these cities without giving them the means, like hospitals, community centers, and parks and recreation, all the amenities that are needed, right, to house all these people. With that being said, once again, builders are the driving force behind that, right? You talk to builders, you talk to contractors. Right now they're slow, right? And unions are coming up for negotiations. They want more money. Cities still have development charges. Yes, that might be changing. There's a lot of red tape. But at the end of the day, how do you build a home cheaper if the trade that you're paying to build the home is getting more expensive? The material, the land, maybe they bought the land at X price. Maybe they're able to buy for a little bit cheaper. But at the end of the day, they have to make their profits. Builders aren't building things for free. And that is going to be the reality moving forward. So builders who own the land, well, look, they can afford to settle. A lot of these big builders, a lot of these big players, they got a lot of money. They have a lot of money to sit on. Yes, a lot of them might be feeling the pressure. Some of them who maybe over leverage, overextended themselves. We'll see that with a lot of these condo builders that are maybe going belly up, going through bankruptcy. But at the end of the day, builders in the single family space, they need to see qualified buyers. So all of this is basically tied into the statement that, look, we don't want home prices to fall, right? That's what the Liberals had said, right? That came out of the housing minister's mouth. Now, whether or not that was sort of planned, that was a question, maybe he's going to get backlash, maybe he wishes he has that moment back. But at the end of the day, as I've always said, that's political suicide for a politician to come out there and say, we're gunning after your home prices, especially as someone who's aging and about to approach retirement. Because I mentioned, you're first-time home buyer, you want your home price to go up, you want to build some equity. You're now approaching retirement. You don't want that nest egg to fall in price because you're needing or banking on that sale of that home to either fund your retirement or subsidize your retirement, because you can't basically bank on the government to provide you with a solid pension or, CPP and OAS, Canadian Pension Plan, or old age security. And you need some other additional means. And that is single-handedly why I think personally a lot of Canadians are turning to, especially those 55 and older, turning to reverse mortgages. It's a popular product that, when I first entered the industry 15 years ago, was very taboo, but now it's becoming a more popular product, especially for Canadians who don't have a mortgage. Those are looking to help their children. They don't want to make a payment on a mortgage because they're retiring, but they want to be able to gift their kids or grandkids some money. So they're looking at these means, this vehicle, this tool as a means to do that. And there's also some other benefits. I mean, ultimately, that's a conversation for another episode. But a lot of Canadians, unfortunately, are not prepared for retirement. That is the other thing, right? So maybe the Canadian government sees that a lot of them are going to be super dependent on the government, and for them to provide more funding for projects and all these things that may be needed as the aging population continues to grow, and that is going to strain the system. So maybe they're saying, hey, you know what? Let them retire. Let's see if we can keep those home prices so they can do what they need to do, sell their asset, doesn't fall on our books, even though a lot of it does. But ultimately, at the end of the day, a lot of people want to retire on their own means. With that being said, that is literally the 2 points, right? Because most people are treating their home as an investment vehicle. At the end of the day, I always say, your home is where you raise your family. It's the four walls. You eat, sleep, and, do all things in your home. It is not an investment. If you want to buy an investment, you buy an investment property. That's a whole different conversation right now, especially with Toronto GTA market. Really, let me know in the comment section below if you want me to hear my thoughts and opinions sort of on that. I'll do that in another episode. But I mean, ultimately right now, a lot of people that are looking at their homes, you have these two polar opposites. You have those saying, hey, we want affordable housing. We need them to relinquish and sell those homes cheaper. And then you have people that are retiring saying, hey, we need the value in our homes because we're going to help our kids, or we need to retire. And ultimately we've paid the price. We've been in the market for a lot longer, but younger generations can't get in the market unless they're given the opportunity, whether that be through family help or support. And ultimately, as a homeowner myself, it's like, I don't necessarily want home prices to fall. I don't necessarily believe the home prices need to escalate with double digits. I think, we need a happy medium. We need something that's going to entice people to want to buy a house, right? Because if home prices continue to fall, nobody's going to want to buy. And unfortunately, we are a housing economy here in Canada. We need housing. We need the knock-on effects on housing in order to sustain a fundamental, strong economy here in Canada. If you think about it, housing and housing-related products, I think, make up well over what they say. I think it's closer to 20% of GDP. So that is something that's super important. We need jobs. We need interest rates to drop if you want to actually get a housing market back here alive right now in Canada. Obviously, a lot of mixed emotions. So I'll turn it to you, our viewers. I mean, did I miss something? Did I get it right? Is there something that I got wrong? Let me know in the comment sections below your thoughts, your opinions. Read each and every one of them, but make sure you're subscribed to the channel, and we'll see you all next week.